How's it going, everybody? Well, I know this is really late. Apologies. I've been dealing with a pretty bad cold this past week. Finally feel like I'm able to get through a video and talk about the not great performance by the Green Bay Packers last Saturday night when they hosted the Baltimore Ravens at Lambeau Field and got ran over. Final score 41-24. The Green Bay Packers just got rolled. Just got rolled. There's no easy way to say it. Well, there wasn't like some big collapse or anything like that. They just got steamrolled from the very first possession all the way to the end of the game. Packers defense was horrible. The offense was not great. And Malik Willis is a superstar. And it sucks. We're going to lose him to free agency this next season because he deserves a starting job somewhere. He's going to get a starting job somewhere. And it sucks because we're not going to be able to see him in the green and gold anymore. But he definitely was really the only bright spot for the Green Bay Packers in this game. And we'll get into all that. Of course, a couple notes to go over. This is the Packers' third straight loss. And it really feels like the season has just flipped 100 or 300. It just flipped. It upside down. Ever since that interception, the first interception against the Denver Broncos in the beginning of the second half in Denver, when Christian got hurt, it just seems like the season has not been the same since. And we have not seen much good things from the Packers since that moment. And it sucks. It really, really sucks. I guess on a little bit of a bright spot, of course, a big bright spot, Micah Parsons earlier this week, he had his successful surgery for his ACL tear. Of course, they were saying that it is a clean tear, which is good news, I guess, for the most part, good news. Hopefully it'll be a speedier recovery for Micah, and we can see him sooner rather than later. He's such a vital, vital piece for this Packers, the entire Packers team, really. And I can't wait to see him back out on the field, putting that work in. Jordan Love in this game, he did not play. He was still in concussion protocol. It did seem like he was going to, but I guess coach's decision or staff's decision, or maybe it was Jordan's decision to not have him go out there. So Malik Willis started, and Clayton Tune backed him up. The injury bug, of course, still wreaking havoc on the Green Bay Packers. The Packers had 5 players go down in this game. Zane Anderson went down early. Jordan Riley and Kamal Hayden both suffering season-ending injuries, which sucks. It was nice to see these guys out there getting a chance, an opportunity, and just to see them go down just sucks. Dontavian Wicks, he went down in this game, and Nate Hobbs also went down. It also seemed that Josh Jacobs was still dealing with his knee injury. He was in just a smidge in this game and then did not come back. I don't know if that was really more of a coaching decision or because he couldn't go. I have no idea. But the injury bug just wreaking havoc on the Packers right now, and it's not good. It's really not great. The Packers defense overall played like garbage, allowing over 300 rushing yards for the Baltimore Ravens. Whatever plan Jeff Hafley had in this game, it did not work at all. There were a couple bright spots here and there. Both times that the Packers turned the ball over on their own side of the field, the defense stepped up and only allowed field goals. There were some points in this game where it did seem like the Packers could still get into it and they could still win, but they were just not able to make the plays happen when they needed to. So it's a tough loss for the Packers. Of course, they already have a 7 seed locked in, and kind of sucks. You would have liked to still have an opportunity to play for the North, especially since the Bears ended up losing on Sunday night. And you could have this next game in Minnesota mean something, but it obviously doesn't. But let's get into some of the stats. Malik Willis came out. He balled out. He played great. 18 of 21, 288 yards, 1 touchdown pass. He also had 9 attempts on the ground for 60 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. So he came out. He balled out. He did get hit with that fumble. He wasn't ready for the snap, hit him in the head, and they fumbled the ball. I don't necessarily blame Malik for that. Clayton Tune, he came in for Malik after he went down with a shoulder injury late in the game, and he came out and 1 for 4, 8 yards, and an interception. I don't necessarily blame Clayton for that turnover either. The ball was tipped by Bo Melton and intercepted by Humphrey. So I don't really blame him for that. It did look like Malik was going to be able to come back in. He came back out of the locker room to a standing ovation at Lambeau, which was pretty cool to see. But by the time that Malik would have been able to get back in there, the Packers had pretty much already lost the game. So they kept him on the sideline and threw Clayton back out there. On the receiving end of it, Christian Watson, he led the team with 5 receptions, 113 yards and a touchdown. Romeo Doubs, he had 3 receptions for 62 yards. And Jaden Reed had 4 receptions for 41 yards. On the ground, Emmanuel Wilson, 3 attempts for 16 yards. And then Josh Jacobs, he ran the ball 4 times for 3 yards. So the rushing game outside of Malik was not great. So, yeah, just not much there. Just not much. Really, just not much really to talk about with the offense outside of Malik. Defensively, X led the team in tackles. Quay Walker had a sack. I thought Lucas Van Ness played his best game of the season. He was all over the place. He had a couple TFLs, a couple run stops. I thought he played great. Kingsley Navari, he also played great in this game. Rashawn Gary continues to be a no-show. I think at some point he got benched because he just was not performing. I don't know if that was necessarily really, again, a coaching decision from maybe the game was just too far out of reach. I have no idea. I've talked about Rashawn Gary already. I don't know what his future is in Green Bay, but I fear that if he does not start to do something, more than likely the last 2 games of the Packers season, if we're going to be honest, if he doesn't do something in the next 2 weeks, I fear for his future in Green Bay. Especially with all the guys the Packers are going to have to sign this coming year with cap and all that. I just don't know Rashawn's future. He didn't have really much production at all. When Micah was taking up 2 to 3 people, he still wasn't doing much. And now that, of course, there's no Micah Parsons to take all the heat, Gary's still not doing anything. And that sucks. It really does. And of course, like I said, I think outside of a couple plays and a couple players, the defense just had no answer for the Ravens in any aspect. Really, really bad performance. In a game that the Packers definitely should have been able to go out there and win. Really. I mean, really. And they just were not able to get it done. Getting into some of the stats for the Baltimore Ravens, Tyler Huntley, backup quarterback, filling in for Lamar Jackson. He was 16 of 20, 107 yards, and a touchdown. He also ran for 60 yards. So he came out and he played great. I was actually more concerned when they came out and said that Lamar wasn't going to play, because I actually think the Packers would have had a better chance against Lamar than Tyler Huntley, because when Huntley comes out, he just plays really, really well. And he protects the football. And he did great. And then, of course, King Henry single-handedly went out there and just demolished the Packers. He had 36 attempts for 216 yards and 4 touchdowns. So Derrick Henry went out and just steamrolled the Packers all by himself. Mitchell, he also had 9 attempts on the ground for 31 yards. 307 total yards on the ground for the Ravens. They had a game plan. They went out there with their game plan, and they executed, and it just worked. It just worked. The Ravens came out in a must-win game for them to be able to have a shot at the AFC North title, and they came out, and they just tore the Packers up. They just did. Zay Flowers, he had 4 receptions for 30 yards and a touchdown. Mark Andrews, he had 4 receptions for 28 yards. Green had the fumble recovery. Jones, 1.5 sacks. Robinson, he had half a sack. Humphrey with the interception. The Green Bay Packers, I'm trying to think of this stat that I saw. The Green Bay Packers have now lost more games at home in the last 15 or 16 months, than Mike Holmgren lost in his entire tenure in Green Bay. So that's tough. That's tough. I think Lambeau, of course, is a special place, and I love it, and I think it's one of the most beautiful places in the world. But I think that the home field advantage at Lambeau, I think, is just gone. I don't think it's there anymore. I just don't. At least not right now. I thought this was an interesting quote from Javon Bullard. And again, I'm just going to read it the way that he said it. And I apologize for the cursing. So Javon Bullard said, "We got our ass whooped. We couldn't stop the fucking run. Point blank, period. We got to fix that shit tomorrow if we're going to go past the wild card game in the playoffs. If we don't, we'll be sitting our ass right back in Green Bay." Truer words have not ever been spoken. So he laid it down. He wasn't sugarcoating anything, but that's just true. That's the way it is, man. A couple team stats. Time of possession. The Baltimore Ravens had the ball for 40 minutes and 16 seconds compared to the Packers' 19 minutes and 44 seconds. 30 first downs for the Ravens, 18 for the Packers. Third downs of the Ravens were 10 of 14, and the Packers were 3 for 6. Fourth down, the Ravens didn't go for it at all on fourth down, and the Packers were 0 for 2. 74 plays for the Ravens compared to the Packers' 44. Red zone, 4 for 6 for the Ravens, 1 for 2 for the Packers. Penalties, Ravens had 6 penalties for 45 yards, and the Packers had 5 penalties for 38 yards. Looking ahead for the Ravens, they now sit at 8-8. They're going to be traveling to Pittsburgh on Sunday Night Football to take on the 9-7 Steelers. The winner of that game will win the AFC North title and grab that last spot in the AFC playoffs. Well, not the last spot. I think there's another. Well, whatever. To grab that AFC North title. So that should be a fun game. Looking ahead for the Packers, they now sit at 9-6-1, and they travel to Minnesota for the last game of the season. The Vikings sitting at 8-8. They were eliminated from the playoffs a couple weeks ago already, so they both teams really don't have anything to play for. The Packers are locked into that 7th seed, and the Vikings can pretty much just come out there and just beat up the Packers a little bit more. The Packers will start Clayton Tune. That was announced today, I believe. It does seem that Jordan should be active. We don't know yet if it'll be Jordan backing up Clayton or if Malik Willis will back up Clayton. Either way, it doesn't matter. The Packers could still play in Chicago on Wild Card Weekend or in Philly if the Philadelphia Eagles beat the Commanders on Sunday and the Bears lose to the Lions, the Packers will go to Philly. If the Eagles lose to the Commanders or the Bears beat the Lions, the Packers will go to Chicago. And if you want my honest opinion, I don't think it matters. I don't think that this Packers team, the way they're playing right now, they're not going to beat Chicago and they're not going to beat Philly. I just don't see it. I think the Packers have a better shot to beat the Eagles than they do the Bears. So, if you want my honest opinion, I would hope that the Bears lose and the Eagles win, because I feel like the Packers could have a little bit better shot to beat the Eagles. I just think the Bears, their defense is too good, and their offense is too good, and the Packers can't stop anything, especially on the ground, especially with as good as the Bears' ground game can be. I don't like the Packers' chances in Chicago. I don't like their chances in Philly either. I just think that maybe there's a little bit better chance. And the Packers, last note here, the Packers signed Trayvon Diggs. So that's cool. I don't know if he's going to really do much, but at least they're getting some help there. Probably because Nate Hobbs is probably done. Well, we don't know how bad his injury is. So we'll see how much of Trayvon Diggs we see on Sunday, if we see him at all. But that's all I've got. Again, apologies for not getting this video out for almost a week. Not like I was really chomping at the bit to really talk about this game. It's been over a week, and it still sucks, and it still hurts. But we'll see what happens on Sunday, of course. Going into Minnesota, you'd like to see the Packers win. I'm still going to root for them to win, of course. I hope Clayton Tune goes out there and plays very, very well. Of course, it just doesn't matter. The Packers could win or lose. They're locked in the 7th seed. It doesn't matter. Obviously, we'll be watching more of the Bears and Lions and the Eagles and the Commanders to see where the Packers are going to go. So that's all I got. I'll see you guys on Sunday for the Vikings post-game. So I'll see you guys then. Until then, go Pack, go.